Blocked my mutual friend group's favorite guy who mocked my writing and called me dumb. Now he's heartbroken and they're mad. I am a published author. I mean, I am no James Patterson, Stephen King, etc., and really it's not the purpose of me writing, but I make fun money off my book sales. In a given month I am in the green by $100 to $300 on a new book depending on the book genre and season when first published. I don't really even do it for the money, like I said. I have a full-time job and do plenty of other gigs as a performer/artist on the side because it makes me happy. Artistic expression just makes my world brighter and helps me from falling into bad mental health cycles, as I am diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and PTSD, or what I like to call, the holy bullshittery, blessed be its name. I started writing as a kid because I am dyslexic, highly, like ever see a person when you spell a weirdly spelt word and they look like they want to jump into oncoming traffic? I'm worse. Don't give me verbal directions, FFS, text it. Point. Anything. The second my mental word is required to need to know too many words at any given time, I panic. I have tried every class, app, TikTok life hack, it's not my strength. I am good at other things like coding or planning events, etc. I have other strengths. So I just do my best and keep swimming like a dyslexic Dory. That said, I was teased and bullied relentlessly all through childhood a lot growing up and labeled a dunce, so the trauma lives. For an example, I was in my local paper, small town, for an event at school. I was like second grade at the oldest. I made a whole imaginary town out of recycled materials and had a story with it as my end-of-year project. I worked on it for literal months, even figuring out how to make it foldable so it's easier to travel with it in my grandfather's minivan. My story had 10 chapters and was handwritten in my messy kid handwriting. I had a teacher, Miss Smith. That's her real name, because F that woman and it's common enough. She said my project was low class, but I guess I shouldn't expect much from you, and she walked off. Her son, my classmate, stomped my project to oblivion. He smashed my Play-Doh figurines of the people and pets, and as if that was not enough, he pointed and laughed at me when I cried. He then put copies of the article with my picture but added a dunce hat and laughing faces in the school, lunchroom, homeroom, etc. I mean, the guy could cure cancer if he used that determination on it. I will give him that. If you're reading this, Tyler, F you in particular, and may your socks always be just a little damp. I was unlucky enough that when I moved, Tyler's mom happened to as well, so guess who had the privilege of that GEMS company for 3 grades? Tyler shoved me lockers in the 4th grade. He called me dumb every day. In 5th grade I was called dumb and fat. I was an underweight child. So fast forward and I am now in my early 30s, still dyslexic as hell. I live in a different state. I have a life and learned ways to deal with my weird brain and function. I moved on from childhood trauma, therapy, etc., etc. There is a guy I liked, Brian, and Brian seemed to like me too, so we decided to do non-date causal hangouts to see if we vibe enough to consider dating, his words and idea. We hung out one-on-one for several instances, but once he was super late, so I had my laptop out. He saw me when he arrived and asked what I was doing, and I sheepishly responded I was working on my next book. He inquired more and I told him I published my first when I was 17 and have published at least one every year since then, and told him of Ms. Smith and Tyler and more horror stories I won't get into as this is now a novel itself, lol, but that it spurred me to prove them wrong and beat this weird stereotype that neurodivergent folk are dumb, etc. He asked to read it, and I said no. I use a pen name on purpose as those Amazon reviews can make you want to eat your own soul from your body, so I keep it separate from everyday life. Well, turns out if you know me and my nerdy joys, my pen name is easy to guess. From there it's easy to find because I mentioned Amazon, and let's just say my bio makes it pretty clear. At our next meetup he asked me if I was said author and my shocked Pikachu face told him everything, so he started reading the series. He came back the next time we met to laugh and say I see why you don't put your name on your works. Don't quit your day job. Your writing sucks. And he placed a copy of one of my books down on the bar. I couldn't help but drop my shoulders. He was laughing and talking, not seeing my expression, and kept saying how he wasted hours of his life in FFS. Someone take my laptop, as it might be a lethal weapon meant to kill us all with boredom. Turns out he's not into mysteries or fantasy. I said that maybe it's just not his genre, and he said it wasn't, but an R-word, 3rd grader could have done better, and it's a good thing I am good at my job. It was then that I could see he actually took in my expression, and he backtracked. I mean, you clearly don't do it for money, so it's whatever, right? And said I have other strengths, but he did not believe at all that I make money off this. He asserting surely, I buy my good reviews and probably bulk buy my own books to improve sales. I don't do any of that. I just smiled it away and said, well, I can't please everyone, but I did make $250 this month from the sales of my last book alone, so some people must like it, and laughed it off. But I knew then and there I didn't want to pursue him anymore. When he texted to see if I planned our next hangout, I was honest and texted back that I wasn't interested, and said that while I can take a note or any criticism, the way he went about it was hurtful and I don't want to be with someone who treats me that way for a hobby, that we are different people but I would like to remain friends, as otherwise we get on well, but nothing more. He went off on me saying I picked the wrong time to lash out as he was having a bad day and now I've made it worse, and that I am so rude and petty to be mad at honest criticism. He said that if I am so sensitive over honest opinions, good luck finding anyone who would want my dumb since looks are all I have with makeup and work and nothing between the ears. I blocked him, but we have a mutual friend group and almost all of them have been asking me what's going on and that I broke his heart. I was thinking, what? How? They said he's been depressed and asking about me and figured out I blocked him on everything and wants to give me a birthday gift. My birthday party passed last week and I didn't invite him. My friends are saying we are adults and this is immature. I mean, I am not a saint and I have toxic traits too, but I don't want to be with someone who criticizes me and my work that way and treats me like Bantha Poodoo. Am I crazy? Update 1. Hi, so for anyone who cares to know, Brian told all our friends that I rubbed my achievements in his face and called him an idiot. I never said anything like that. He told them also about my posts, so he found it somehow and started telling everyone that I am trying to slander him as girls can ruin a man's reputation by snapping her fingers, and suggested my next move would be to say he assaulted me. Some of our friends came at me hard saying I was bullying him and trying to ruin his rep, and all he did was asking a girl he liked out for drinks and that I need to apologize and just suck it up and go to drinks with him. They since have either outright not invited me out with the group or disinvited me to events, and it was really hard to accept. I was really confused, because he was the one who made fun of me, and I wrestled with myself going over every talk again and again wondering if I inadvertently said or did something to upset him. It wasn't until I checked our text and message history that it occurred to me to send the screenshots, as he called me a moron, and then when I rejected him he called me fat, desperate, and stupid. And there were more such messages after he found my book series. So I took screenshots and sent it to my friends and they were shocked. Apparently, according to Brian, my outwardly sweet demeanor hides my judgmental and cruel side, and that I strung him along and called him a loser when I told him I wasn't interested in dating him. I even pettily went back before all of this and screenshot some of his rude or mean texts he made. And I screenshot my actual rejection text and his response and sent that along as well. Now the tides have shifted and most of our friends think he was the and 2 of our friends are saying I am sending my choice of screenshots to make him out to be a villain and that they have seen the real screenshots of me bullying him. I asked them to produce such screenshots, but they refused and said I wouldn't be worried about them if I was innocent, as some sort of gotcha. I feel really bad as I wanted to stay friendly, but I can never look at him with any semblance of respect anymore. I am glad it's cleared up with my friends, sans the 2 holdouts, but they are now also on the outs with the group, so things are looking back to normal. I have my first publishing party for my next book and everyone is invited but them. Weird way it all ended, but oh well. Update 2. I had opted to ignore Brian and any attempt he made to get a rise out of me. He apologized to the group but then said he was forced to or be ostracized. He said I was using Lee's social capsule to go after him and has since been trying to get any direct cruel words from me which I have not provided him. After a month I can list my top 5 favorites. 1. Going to places I also frequent and sitting nearby me no matter how much available seating there is elsewhere, or me moving my usual spot leagues away, and he will loudly have phone call talking about the BTCH who broke his heart because women are so sensitive too. Getting an alt account on nearly all social media to find me and follow my accounts which are public, as a workaround my blocking him, to comment reviews on any of my art, books, acting, modeling, doesn't matter, he will comment a reason I suck, and then will simply make a new account when I block the last one and delete his comments. 3. Anytime the group chat pops off with invites to events and I say I'm going, he will reply to that with my GF is the kindest person but I don't think she'd like me hanging out with you, etc. And if I don't reply to invites until he will say it's a good thing I'm not coming because of his GF, or that now he can't come because if I come his GF will be upset I'm hanging with an ex. We never dated. When any of us ask who his GF is he says she's shy and he will introduce her eventually, etc. 4. I am speaking at a conference and got excited and shared in the group chat and everyone congratulated me, but he said that was okay but not newsworthy, and then looked up the conference and saw I have a relative also presenting and suggested that is how I got the spot and not on my own merit. 5. Revealing this Reddit name to the friend group and linking my first post as proof I bully him despite not speaking to him, not naming him, and leaving put most if not all identifying info about him. He's insisting I edited out the worst parts and I can't prove I didn't, so, whatever. So all of that has been happening, and yes, I unblocked his phone number only because it was screwing up what I was seeing in the group chat and I got lazy and didn't figure it out. Plus he doesn't text me directly anymore anyway. Well, about a week ago, I went up to house sit for my parents a small drive away from my own home and was due to stay for about a week. I only told the few friends in the group that didn't side with Brian the first round of BS. I used this time to go to war, and then spend my non-working hours on my book, and I came up with a new pen name. I decided to revamp the whole fictional universe I created and was excited after I designed the cover for my first next book. I shared it with all in the group but him and his 2 flying monkeys, but he found out about it anyway and flipped out in the group chat saying I was trying to show off again and that I was trying to steal his spotlight, as we all know damn well he is publishing his first book on Amazon this summer, and me publishing mine at the same time with my fancy cover etc. was just another form of bullying. He akined it to if in war white at his wedding. I have to honest here. I had enough. I put up with this behavior for months now. So I flat out said he never mentioned a book to me, and shared a screenshot of calling writing the profession for the R word, but unlike sharing the screenshot before, I didn't blank out the word. What a difference a word can make. Apparently the friend group thought the word I blanked out were milder and not slurs, and we as a group are quite diverse on every spectrum save maybe politics. So they dogged him for using a slur, and he said that he's autistic and he can use that word just like I am black and can say the N word except he typed the full word. I said right, so I'm done with this. And left the chat. I didn't argue or do anything other than leave the chat. I was working at the time and put the phone down like that's enough humaning for today and went about my business. This man rage texted me for hours until I got off work, saw his messages, and blocked him. I then see ads on FB and Instagram about his book. He was paying for ads on social media. His name is on the cover and he has comments underneath calling the book incredible, a masterpiece, undiluted artistry etc. And his book isn't out yet. He said his publishing date was August. I remember because my next book is to come out in July and he had used that as another form of proof I was updating him, like setting my wedding date before his siblings to show them up. A few nights ago, he saw me at a spot I frequent for karaoke and I admittedly had been doing shots, so I was pretty transparent in my disappointment that he was there when he approached me, calling my name. He went in to hug me and I backed up and cold but politely said hi. He sensed my attitude and threw his hands up laughing saying, "Ooh, are you in another mood?" and I opted to ignore him and move seats closer to the singers and some friends. A few fellow regulars told him to leave me alone and he was spinning a tale that we slept together and I led him on, and now I am ignoring him and acting like I hate him, all because he is writing a book. He said I inspired him to write and I was angry his book was better and cited the reviews he got on social media. Well, that was enough for some to call him a creep and he went off about it. Shouting and the like. He started to call for me to come the FCK over here and tell them the truth and that I was trying to ruin his reputation, and the time we slept together, never happened, will eventually be me lying about being our ped. Turns out if you start shouting that sort of thing in a public space while there is karaoke, to a person many in the room know personally, you get kicked out. It's been beautifully quiet since. I told the friend group what happened and he is out of the group chat. Some still speak to him, the two holdouts from before, but they have not said boo to me directly. So I guess this makes this my final update. Not very exciting but a bucket of crazy and I had to share. My neighbors know because one of the regulars at the bar lives walking distance from me and he told everyone at the community pool etc. I have such kind folks I never spoke to but have seen in walking my dog etc. saying they are being watchful of my home and to call if I need anything. I didn't know people could be like this because he was never like this before. He always was sweet to everyone in the group and we agreed on damn near everything. He would be complimenting me, telling me how smart and pretty I am and would even joke "I'm not hitting on you" and laugh. To be honest, I am excited for August. I will be the first to buy his book. He's using his real name and has been advertising about it, so, hey. Update 3. So Brian's promised book came out on the 1st, the cover art looks AI generated and I know he's really into a site/program called Midjourney that he makes memes with this month on Amazon. His page promises that it's the start of a series. Even before it came out, it had reviews raving about it being a masterpiece, so okay, I went and bought myself a copy. It's a fantasy story. About 30-ish chapters. I don't want to say too many details that could identify him or myself even though I don't overly believe too many others read it, but I suppose I can share that it's smutty but like in a way horny teenaged boy would want it to be, if that makes sense. I actually read the whole thing. There is an elf character by my real first name that the main character sleeps with and she is described remarkably similar to my appearance including my non-natural colored hair. She ends up being outed as a narcissistic traitor and is killed, like Game of Thrones style dead. I talked to some friends that know the both of us about it and even brought the book and we spent a good chunk of time reading pieces of it over drinks and my friends agree it's a rage write. They even pointed out other characters named and given the vague appearance of other people Brian knows or has talked about and the ones we know he doesn't like, such as our friend group that cut ties with him, all have something awful done to them and characters with the names of his two friends that sided with him. Still waiting on those screenshots and proof I bullied this man, guys, became rulers in this fictional land and were portrayed as heroic I'd kicks to the main character that has his real name and of course is the hero of the story. It had several plot holes and I'm not trying to be mean, but it didn't have an editor and it showed. I promised I am not trying to be cruel about this because the dude did write a book and I know from personal experience that in and of itself is a hell of a feat. It's hard and at times infuriating and it takes a lot of dedication and time. I'm not trying to belittle his efforts at all, fair play to that, but it's quite clear it was rushed. The chapters vary in length with some being super weirdly short and choppy and others being super long and wordy. If you write a book, have it edited. Trust me on this. I'm a wordy person too, if you haven't noticed Lamau, plus my brain has a hard time with typos and the like. You don't want something out there not read over at least once at the very least by someone you know to check for these issues. Brian saw me about a week ago out and about and he'd be lying to me, I mean he was zeroed in on me. I knew what was happening before he even opened his mouth. He needed to talk about his book. He was so nice to me it was actually uncomfortably nice but I can't explain the look in his eyes. He hates me. He launched into the whole story that he wrote a book too and it was so easy and it's selling really well, probably better than mine. His exact wording, because it was such an obvious jab I couldn't forget, was "Yeah, I was so surprised I think I have like double your numbers or something. Maybe it's how I marketed it or something. Maybe you should try," and he went on to give me tips that I so clearly needed. Then it was time for him to hand me a copy to give it a read. I told him, "Oh, I have a copy. I bought it as soon as I could." He looked shocked at that, and I said that I of course wanted to support other authors, and he was like, "You did, huh? Where is it?" And I said I let a friend borrow it, and he handed me a copy in a way alluding to the fact that he figured I was lying or being sarcastic. I had previously taken a picture to send to a friend via text, so I showed him the photo on my phone of his book on my coffee table, and he sort of glossed over that with a, "Well, now you have an extra so your friend can keep the other one." I thanked him and turned to move on with my day, but he sort of moved in my path and asked me if I read it and then what I thought of it. I shrugged, and he had this grin and muttered, loudly, "Yeah, I thought you'd act that way, but I just kept moving." A mutual friend sent a screenshot of his Facebook post that he posted that evening of how jealous people are so funny and pathetic, and that his book has record sales. The same friend then commented on the post asking for a pic of the dashboard that would show said sales, and he commented a photo I sent in our old friend group chat of my sales from several months ago when I got a bump in sales. So my friend took the time to scroll back in the chat, screenshot that part showing it was mine, and commented it under that, which caused a lot of drama in the comments. People went from congratulations to WTF quick, and Brian deleted the entire post and blocked my friend. Since then he's been avoiding me publicly, but keeping up his fake social media profiles and insulting me every chance he can. He talks to himself as alternate accounts gossiping about how I am fake, rude, a bully, jealous, and the like. If I block one, another pops up, and a comment will appear from another account outing me as someone who blocks anyone I don't agree with for calling me out. I stopped blocking mostly because in our new friend group chat, we post screenshots of the comments and messages, and it's become a sort of game to spot his accounts. So Brian, because I know you're reading this, I will be keeping this account, and I've found writer subs here I will be joining. Now on to second story. Husband wants his ex-wife to be our daughter's primary caretaker instead of daycare, but I'm firm on maintaining our boundaries. My husband, 38 male, is trying to convince me, 28F, to have his ex-wife be the primary caretaker for our daughter instead of utilizing daycare when we return to work. Our daughter will be 3 months old when my maternity leave ends, and the plan has always been for her to go to daycare. We have read reviews and interviewed the director at the daycare, and up until about a month before our daughter was born he seemed satisfied with this arrangement. Around the 7-month mark of my pregnancy, my husband got the idea that we should ask his ex-wife to watch our daughter instead of utilizing daycare. We have a very positive co-parenting relationship with her and have never had so much as an argument. We all work together to do what's best for their son, M8. While we have a great co-parenting relationship, I'd like to maintain the current boundaries we have in place. To me, having to drop our daughter off every day and pick her up before and after work has potential to blur lines and create an arrangement I'm simply not comfortable with. While I understand this would likely save us money and give him peace of mind with personally knowing who will be watching our daughter, I don't think it is something I will ever be entirely okay with. He insists I need to put my ego aside and take emotions out of my decision making to choose what's best for our daughter. This arrangement would also require him to alter his work schedule significantly and require either one of us to take off work when she or their son is ill, not to mention we would have to plan summer vacations around her schedule as well. Maybe I am more comfortable with the idea of daycare since I was in one until roughly 5th grade and still maintained contact with the teachers I had while there. I just want to maintain boundaries, so am I the asshole for not wanting my husband's ex-wife to watch our daughter full-time when we return to work? Update 1. After showing my husband the post I made here on Reddit, he seemed genuinely surprised with the overwhelming number of people that were siding with me on this. After reading through comments, we had a very cordial conversation about why he feels his ex would be a better option than daycare. He went on to explain that he was often watched by his father's ex growing up and that he felt it created a village for him to rely on as a kid. With his ex watching our daughter, he feels we would eliminate risks associated with daycare, and this would allow our daughter to have the undivided attention of one individual. Thanks to this post, he was much more willing to hear me out and ultimately left the decision up to me, but still made his opinion on daycare very clear. After our argument the other night, I gave in to a certain extent and told him to reach out to his ex to see if this is something she would even want to do. While she wasn't opposed to it, she wasn't necessarily jumping at the opportunity either. She seemed indifferent and more like the money would be beneficial, but wasn't going to be offended if we chose daycare at the end of the day. I have stood my ground throughout this and made it clear I'd like to maintain our current co-parenting dynamic and avoid putting ourselves in a position where we could jeopardize the relationship. We still don't agree on the matter, but he has accepted my choice and validated my feelings.